Joining us this morning again. Our next conversation is pretty much it's a potpourri of sorts. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture joins us this morning, Mohammed. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, Alhaji. I would have added a chief or a doctor.
No, just Alhaji.
Well, certainly, it's very overwhelming and intimidating times. I should just ask you, when you look at the front pages of the dailies and you get security reports and you see all these issues, you discuss them at federal level, state level, must be overwhelming. How are you taking them on board?
Well, thank you. You see, tough times don't last. But you have tough policies and good policies you overcome. Every morning you wake up to screaming headlines about the state of the economy, about the state of the nation's security. But because you are involved, you know they are not as bad as it's been portrayed. And because you know that the government is working day and night to overcome these challenges, you are not terribly alarmed. The most important thing is for you to remain focused and not be distracted, because we did not get here overnight, and we're not going to live there overnight in one day. So the important thing is, what is government doing to contain these challenges? What's government doing to tame insecurity? What's government doing to ensure the safety of life and property? What's government doing to ensure that livelihoods are secured? These are the issues that engage government every day, either on ministerial level, parliamentary level, or at the level of the executive council.
Well, talking about those issues, the question then is, what is government doing? You remember, of course, was while the president was in Kankara, that's 344 or thereabout children were abducted. It was when the army chiefs were in or around in the neighborhood of Niger State that the Kagara boys were also abducted. And so to a number of people, it's like an affront on the part of the bandits. Do your worst. So question then is, as you said, if government is doing something to tame this tide, what is government doing?
Well, you see, bandits, terrorists all over the world, they work on psychology of people. Deliberately, they go and target, children and women, because that is what was going to attract a lot of global outcry. Well, that's exactly what the bandits do all over the world. That's what happened during the, Dapchi girls' abduction, or the Kankara schoolboys, abduction. Now, but the important thing is, what does government do? What is government doing? See, the government has put in place all along various strategies to contain banditry, to fight insurgency, to fight kidnapping. Some of these measures are kinetic, some are non-kinetic. You see, we should look back and ask ourselves, how did we get where we got to? Like I said earlier, we didn't get there overnight, and that's why it's difficult to get out in one day. Now, so you look at what are the social, economic, and political issues that must have given rise to banditry, to kidnapping. And we always say criminality in any form is abhorred, but in any form will not be tolerated by government. But at the same time, government also has a duty to look at the underlying causes of some of this criminality in order to, address them. As you know, I was in Mina with my colleagues, the ministers of Interior and Police Affairs, the IG and the National Security Advisor on Wednesday to get the first-hand information on the abduction of these Kagera schoolboys. And I can tell you, as of today, that the government is on top of the matter. It's not, the strategy government is employing is not the subject matter of a television discussion, but we're employing all means.
Does this means include ransom paying?
You see, like I said, you employ kinetic and non-kinetic. You don't throw away invitation to treat or to engage. But your overall strategy, you keep to your chest.
No. Sorry, Alero. The question then, because there are rumors out there, I'm sure you are always taking those on, that government paid ransom for the Kankara boys and is contemplating paying ransom for the Kagara.
I can say categorically that no penny was paid for the Kankara boys, none was paid for the Dapchi girls. You see, all these conspiracy theories about ransom is nothing but conspiracy theory.
When you say that all options are on the table, does the options include paying ransom for the Kagara boys?
No.
Okay, Honorable Minister, you kept saying we didn't get here in one day. Okay, so while we were getting here, government was there. And what was government doing all the time till we got to this stage? If we are prepared to negotiate, that means we know who these people are. Why don't we bring them to book as example to others, to deter others?
Like I said, criminality in any form will not be tolerated by this government. When I say we didn't get here overnight, what I meant actually is that what we're witnessing today, be it herdsmen famous clashes, be it insurgency, be it kidnapping, it's built up gradually over many years. And there are certain factors which are even beyond the human capacity that led us here. Now, I will talk about climate change, for instance. Because whatever you see mostly between farmers and herders is largely a scramble for dwindling resources, for water, for grazing land, for farming land. Lake Chad, that used to support 7 African countries, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, Niger, Benin Republic, has lost 90% of its water surface in the last 50 years, which means that over 7 million, people that used to benefit, it's about 20 million people that used to benefit from that Lake Chad basin, have to move southwards. Then there's the issue of urbanization. When I was growing up, there were over 400, ranches and grazing reserves all over Nigeria. Urbanization took over. And most areas which were meant for either grazing reserve or ranches have been taken over by urbanization. Then there's the issue of the wars all along the Sahel. And we are today, grappling with the issue of smuggling, importation of light arms and things like that. That's why you see today herdsmen with sophisticated weapons. You see bandits with sophisticated weapons. But make no mistake about it, most of these herdsmen are not even from Nigeria. You see, the ECOWAS protocol allows transhumans between all the ECOWAS countries. And that is why we are thinking of seriously reviewing the ECOWAS protocol in that respect. Because what we found out today is that a lot of criminality has been introduced into this, into these headsmen and the headers, transhumans.
Yeah.
So when I say that we didn't get there today, what I mean is that our approach should be to see how can we rectify those issues that have led us here. I spoke about the climate change. You can see that since the administration came on board, we have been in the front line of coordinating the activities of not just our region, the whole world, to ensure that the Lake Chad is refilled, and from the Congo basin. It's a very complex transaction, because until you get back that volume of water, you will not be able to stop migration of people. Then the issue of smuggling of light arms, small arms and light armaments, is a very serious issue. And it has to do with border control, and it also has to do with even more than border control. Like I think I explained at a particular forum that if you go and build your house in a slum as a rich man, the poor people will not allow you to rest. That's the problem we have with most of our smuggling here. We are surrounded by countries that are either poor or they are landlocked. So we say we want to develop agricultural, food security and agricultural, self-sufficiency. So we are encouraging our farmers to grow, rice, grow maize, cassava, and we are stopping importation of, rice. But our neighbor, the Republic, says no. We make our living from the duty we collect from ports. So while we are charging 70%, duty on rice, they will charge 5%. So all the rice smugglers from Thailand, everywhere in the world, will come to Benin Republic. But that rice is destined for Nigeria. So we need this. We need to start thinking and say, look, Benin Republic, for instance, how much do you make in a year from your port charges, from the duties paid on rice? Say $100 million. Fine. We pay $100 million, but we must not see one grain of rice. Then we look at what is the benefit of that $100 million to Benin Republic. It means we are going to increase our farm production. We're going to have food security. We employ more people. These are the issues that we are considering. So that's why I said we must start thinking out of the box. Smuggling everywhere is the same. You remember the former president of the U.S., he was so frustrated he had to say he was going to build a wall between Mexico and the U.S. So this is why I say that we need to think out of the box. And we need to lower tension, lower the temperature. And that's why I'm glad about what I see happening in the last few days when I saw governors in the Southwest meeting with different cultural organizations, Miyetti Allah, the Yoruba people, and everybody coming to the conclusion, listen, we are in a federation, we're in a country. We cannot keep giving, quick notice to anybody. But whoever comes to live in your community must respect the tradition, the values, and the most of the people. We will live together, and we must, have the mechanism to resolve our differences.
That takes me to what you said earlier about free movement of persons in the ECOWAS region.
Yes.
Fine. And you also mentioned the wall, the famous Mexican wall.
Yeah.
I mean, is it not time for us to begin to look at those porous borders? Because you are free to move around in the ECOWAS, but you're free to move around with documentation. We don't enter Ghana without our passports.
No, you see, I was talking about transhumans. You see, even for the ECOWAS citizens, they enter with their passports here. That's why I said that there's probably need to even review the ECOWAS, protocol about transhumans.
Yeah.
It's probably, and that's why I kept saying, you see, if you are a country like Nigeria, and for whatever our challenges are, we are a very unique, country, and we are very, very strong and powerful country. But when you look at a country like Niger, You look at a country like Chad. Look at a country like Burkina Faso. That's landlocked. They didn't access to the sea. And this is why people are saying, oh, why is Nigerian government investing money building a railroad from Kano to Maradi? And our answer is very simple. You see, when you build a train from Kano to Katsina to Maradi, what are you doing? Number one, the entire rail project is about 284 kilometers. We only extended it to 25 kilometers to the Maradi city. Why? Because we know Niger Republic is landlocked. So we can now, by having that train services up to Maradi, encourage them to import through Nigerian ports. That's interesting. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You've raised some issues here,
yes.
And of course you know that there are many questions about that from the people that the government is in charge of. But let's take a short break to continue this conversation after these messages. Please stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. Alhaji Mohammed is still with us here this morning, Minister of Information and Culture. Well, Alhaji, you started by telling us that there are so many reasons, so many things that are responsible for the insecurity we have on our hands. And we have also been told by the former Chief of Army Staff, Chukwuburutai, that military solution is not the only one. And you have referenced some of them. He talked about political, economic, and social factors being responsible for fueling the security challenge, and that we should expand development all across the nation. The question then is, because if we do not take care of these elements that you have mentioned, it would seem like we're just partying the issues that we have on our hands. So what's the plan? And is there a timeline for ending this insurgency, this multifaceted, hydra-headed security challenges we have on our hands? Is there a timeline?
You see, all over the country today, you have several, operations going on, either to check banditry, to check kidnapping or insurgency, or even in some states south of this, in the southern part of Nigeria, you also have information. You also have operations to check cultism, to check smuggling. The security, military and police, are daily battling and grappling with issues of insecurity. Unfortunately, when bandits are neutralized or cultists are arrested, or it doesn't make the kind of headline that the kidnapping of children would make. But I want to assure Nigerians that the security apparatus is constantly being re-engineered and being re-energized to adapt to the changing insecurity challenges we're facing all over the country.
Okay.
Well, says, of what benefit is ECOWAS? I think we should exit the bloc if it is making us insecure.
Well, like I said earlier, we cannot throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are probably certain protocols of ECOWAS that we need to review, especially as affects these transhumans. We need to review, especially as affects the security challenges we are facing. And that is why there are clauses for the reviewing of these protocols.
Are we taking steps towards that already?
Of course, this is why we're discussing it. Yes, we are aware of the challenges that this poses, and at the appropriate level, yes, we are thinking about reviewing some of these protocols.
Well, one other thing, of course, with ECOWAS protocol, we have to be talking about intervention of state governments because it is the states that border other nations on behalf of Nigeria. So there are calls, even on the front pages of some of the papers today, as have been previously, calls by governors for state police to try as much as possible to manage the security challenge. Of course, you know that there is that talk among so many people that centrally managing the police structure hasn't helped, is not helping, and may not, help to solve the problem completely. What government's take on state police has been campaigned and canvassed for by the governors?
I think the issue of security, like politics, is very local, in the sense that you cannot secure a place effectively without the collaboration and support of the community. And that is why the federal government is supporting community policing. Community policing, what it means is actually, getting the participation of the community in policing. You see, when you look at an area like my street, for instance, everybody knows who his neighbors are. And it's easier. You know those who don't go to work in your area. You know those who spend all the day drinking. And so it's easier for you to secure your area from the information that you get from the community, people living in that community. Now, this is why the federal government is completely 100% to support community policing. The structure it will take is evolving gradually. But clearly, you need community input in policing.
But the governors are asking for state police so that it is not centrally managed from the center, but the charged affairs are the governors of each of the states, not just community policing.
Well, I've had that. We've reasoned, and what we're saying is that there might not be this, radical change from what we have now to state police. But going through community policing might be the way to eventually end up, with that.
Well, at the heart of all of these insecurity challenges, as have been posited by some, even the police system, the first PRO had said that much of the banditry that we have are economic in nature, indicating that we have an economic challenge, inequality, if you want to say it that way. So talking about the economy, part of course, which is central to the government of the day, what is the plan to boost the economy, so to speak? Because we have just been told that last quarter, Nigeria exited recession by 0.11%. Exited recession. But then the growth, population growth, is much higher than that. So even if we exit recession at this particular level that we have, or even increase it to 2 or 3% growth, we still haven't matched up to the 6% population growth. So what's the plan to expedite action in that regard?
You see, the truth of the matter is that this administration in particular has done so much to stabilize the states, especially socially and politically. You see, we've forgotten that prior to 2015, 27 states in the Federation were unable to pay worker salaries. It was this administration that bailed out those 27 states. And when we started in 2015, some of the states had no money for infrastructure. This administration gave 10 billion naira to every state to start infrastructure. When we noticed that there was a decline in revenue as a result of the poor performance of crude, this government gave budgetary support to each state, 1 billion naira a month for 8 months, and 800 million naira a month for another 8 months, just to stabilize. Otherwise, most of the states would have been completely unviable. Again, it is this administration, to stabilize the states, that gave back to states their own portion of the Paris Club, debt forgiveness. Some states got as much as 100 billion, some 40 billion. You see, don't forget that it's also this administration that refunded back to all the states money that they paid, that they spent in developing or maintaining, other building federal government roads in their states. And again, some states got as much as 40 billion, some, 80 billion. Now, when you talk about so I just try to tell you that, but for this administration and the bailout it has brought to states, many states today would have been bankrupt. Now, coming to the issue of our exiting recession, we did not exit recession by accident. It was because of the hard work, the foresight, and the planning of government. Don't forget that by March this year, Mr. President set up the Economic Sustainability Committee when we started seeing the impact of the COVID-19. And they came up with this Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan to ensure that we do not feel much the impact of COVID-19. See, when you talk about GDP, it is the total sum of the value of your services and goods. So clearly, if there's a lockdown, you cannot go to work, which happened all over the world, there was going to be, there's bound to be a recession.
Okay.
Now, what we did was that we pumped money into the system. How did we do so? We did so by creating jobs. We did so by three major, programs. The first is the 1,000 jobs of public works that was given to each local government. And we have 774 local governments in the Federation. So when you have 774 young men working on public works on roads, it goes a lot to boost the economy. There's what we call Survivor Fund, which the Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment supervised. Because one of the things that we say we must do is that we must prevent loss of jobs, we must create new ones, and we must make sure that, micro,
MSMEs.
medium SM do not collapse. So what you do with survival funds, we ask companies to employ between 5 and 50 people. We give them payroll support for about 3 months. Okay. And that payroll support went to about 500 small, 500,000 SMEs.
Okay.
Then we also did what we called a one-off grant, whereby we give 30,000 naira to artisans, to hairdressers, to mechanics, to keke, And this went to about 333,000 such individuals.
Well, Honorable Minister, these are very, wonderful figures. The challenge there is what's the communication, or how do people take it on board when they listen to you right now? And you've talked about the MSMEs, the economic sustainability plans, and lofty, no doubt, But the communication of those things, along with so many other things, has been a challenge. For instance, a good number of people are asking, where in the world is the National Orientation Agency? Why is it that we do not, hear all the things that they used to do before they became National Orientation Agency, when they were still MAMSA, mobilizing the country along a particular line? So what's happening to national orientation from the agency that is supposed to be doing it?
You see, when MAMSA, when it was created under the military for a purpose, the demands and imperatives of that time completely different from those of today. Now, I can tell you that NOA is very active, and when you follow the fight, absolutely, when you follow the fight against COVID-19, whether even on your own channels, on your own television channel, you find out that NOA is the agency that is actually reaching the grassroots in the prevention of COVID-19, in ensuring that, non-constitutional interventions are adhered to. And I dare say that I, not just because I'm Minister of Information, I see my colleagues here daily telling Nigerians exactly what we have done in the areas of infrastructure. My colleague, Right Honorable Amechi, was here last Sunday. I know my colleagues are everywhere talking about what we are doing in MSMEs, apart from what I do. So if anybody claims that the efforts of government are not being duly reported, I don't think it's very fair. Because I watch all programs.
It's not a function of whether or not it's being done. It's the challenge of whether or not it's being felt.
No, that's a different ball game. You see, what we are saying is that you are saying that you do not hear what government is doing. And I say, no. Why am I here today, for instance? I'll be in Bond FM tomorrow. Now, what we've done is that we've even gone further to ensure that our colleagues who speak Hausa, they appear on programs of Hausa speaking, programs. Those who speak Yoruba do the same. I'm going to Bond FM tomorrow because I speak Yoruba to talk about the achievement of the administration.
Okay, Alaji.
Yeah, but you see, when you do, like I say, you see, bad news travel faster. Bad news will grab the headlines. But daily, I'm sure if you go to other channels, you'll see one of my colleagues. When I left here, this morning I was talking to my colleague, the Minister of State Budget Planning. He's in Imo. He was in Imo yesterday, he slept in Enugu yesterday, inspecting the rural roads and also addressing these issues.
Okay, Alaji. It's okay to go into recession and come out of recession. All that to the common man on the street is just grammar. Because to him, his salary does not take him home. One tatashe is 100 naira. A bag of rice, which he paid, how much? 15,000 for in 2015. He now has to pay 30,000 naira for. So, as far as he's concerned, government is just making his life more difficult. His salary is still minimum wage of 30,000 naira, but he's having to pay so much more for everything. And in the course of this week, we heard talk again about increasing the price of fuel. So all the common man seems to have heard since this APC government came to power is just increasing price of everything. And you're telling him we've come out of recession. Fantastic. How does that help me?
You see, Alero, one is recession, or you say pandemic. It affects every part of the world. The average American today, there are about 40 million Americans today who are out of job. Many of them do not even know how they're going to pay their next, mortgage. Their next mortgage. We must accept that the world is going through a very difficult time, and Nigeria is not an exception. What are the sources of your revenue? Crude oil, taxation. Crude oil is just inching up now. But we've also suffered a decrease from 1.72 billion, from 1.72 million barrels a day. We are now on 1.67 million barrels a day, which means we have lost about 500,000 barrels, already. Now, the pandemic has affected our ability to produce goods or services. In the last 4 or 5 months, officers on grade level 12 and above have been working from home. And this has also gone out in many states of the Federation. Despite this, we have to contend with security challenges, banditry, kidnapping, insurgency. Now, we just must admit that the country is going through tough times. But what does government do? This is why government came up with this survivor, plans. This is why the government came up with the economic sustainable plan. This is why the government is investing more in infrastructure and employing more and more people. If you invest in infrastructure, at the end of the day, cost of products will come down. if you invest in infrastructure, you're able to employ more people. But what happens is that what Nigeria is going through is not unique. It's not exceptional to Nigeria. We are going through very tough times.
Even before the pandemic.
There's no way in the world that prices are not going up. This is what I'm saying. You see, I just want you to give me an example of a country where the prices have been stable. It's not possible. And you see, when you are doing the same thing with 1/3 of what used to be your resources, and like you said today, we talk about population explosion. And this is another issue that Nigerians are taking into recognition. That
Which is not unknown to government. Consequently, government ought to plan along the line.
Ayo, how do I plan on the number of children you are going to have? These issues are cultural, are religious. I mean, we know what we are facing in the issue of, trying to control population. But this is why...
What is government doing about controlling population?
All you can do is advocacy. Alero, I can't tell you how many children you can have.
Well, China did. China did.
Oh, yes. And if China tries it now to fail, China did it in the ancient time. China did it under what kind of government? Look, I was shocked yesterday. We were discussing this, population explosion. So he told me, his driver has 4 wives and 30 children. His driver. Then so what do you do? You see, in this context, now you must see Chinese government is facing. You can only do advocacy.
Okay.
So look, there are some religious beliefs that say it is a sin, it's ungodly for you to even, adopt or embark on a family planning.
Okay.
So these are issues that you...
Well, there are so many issues, definitely, Honorable Minister.
Surrounding the issue of population. All I'm saying is that government has to do more with less. And these are the challenges we are facing.
And that government took that job. We really have to let him go now.
Okay. See, we are not complaining, we're explaining.
Okay.
Alaji,
Right.
Austin says that you are claiming that that the government is encouraging farming. Meanwhile, people cannot access their farm due to insecurity. Invariably, government is encouraging people to go into their farms and die.
Well, that's a very simplistic way to look at it. Yes, I told you also how many military formations, security formations are everywhere in the country to ensure that banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, insurgency is checked. But it is, we admit, and this is why we are doing everything possible to ensure the safety of lives, freedom of movement of people. Because yes, if there's insecurity, there can be agriculture. And this is why you must appreciate what the government is doing to ensure that we return every part of this country into a secured and safe place.
And people are also looking to government to understand what they are going through, just as Alero has said, and so many other on Twitter, when you are able to. But we have to thank you right now.
Last one, quickly, please. Festus Akimboyewa says the USA that Alhaji Mohammed is referring to has not stopped bailing out its citizens.
Yes, but you see,
how much bailing out is this government doing?
I've just told you the bailing that we've done.
Survival fund?
God bless.
Survival fund. How many people?
Survival fund went to 500, MSMEs, 500,000.
But government also says that we have about
million or so.
No, MSMEs. I didn't say individual. MSMEs.
Yeah, he's talking about individuals.
No. You see, who are the people in MSMEs? We did it to ensure that they do not retrench people. That's a form of bailout. And our conditional cash transfer today it reaches 3.6 million people.
But there are 100 and... Anyway, we could go on and on.
Yes.
But there are 100 million, poor Nigerians, according to federal government's data. But Alhaji, we have to let you go.
No. I agree with it, but I'm just... I can give figures. I say, honestly, we have conditional cash transfer that reaches about 3.6 million people. We have the... Empower. Thank you. We have the farmer money. We have the market money. We have trader money. And this reaches millions of people. But you see, people that are benefiting are not likely to come out and say they are benefiting. And that is why we arranged for a testimony series, sometimes in 2018,
Okay.
to those, for Nigerians to hear from those who are benefiting.
Well, the question someone on Twitter might be asking you is, are they up to 10 million that are benefiting? Don't answer the question.
I will answer it. There are more than 10 million. I will answer that. There are more than 10 million. I will say that.
Alhaji Mohammed is Honorable Minister of Information and Culture of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Austin, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Okay. So, Sunrise continues in a moment. Please stay with us.